The story begins on Christmas Eve, 1945, when George and Jenny Sauter, Italian immigrants, were living with their 10 children on a farm in Fayetteville, West Virginia. The family was described as hardworking and deeply connected to one another. They had made a comfortable life for themselves, and Christmas Eve was a time for celebration, like any other year. That night, after a fun-filled evening, the family retired to bed. The older children had gone to sleep in their rooms, while the younger children were placed in the second-floor bedrooms. Their home was a 2-story farmhouse located on a quiet, isolated hill, and they had no reason to expect anything unusual that night. But something strange happened around 1 a.m. George and Jenny were woken by the sounds of something unusual, a loud thump, followed by a strange smell. They initially thought the house had caught fire, but when they ran to the children's rooms, they saw nothing out of the ordinary. They rushed outside, and to their horror, the house was quickly engulfed in flames. George tried to break into the house to rescue his children, but the fire was spreading so fast that the heat made it impossible. Jenny, distraught, ran to the neighbors for help, but the fire department arrived too late. The most disturbing part of the fire was that while the parents and 4 of their children managed to escape the blaze, the other 5 children, Martha, Maurice, Louis, Jenny, and Sylvia, disappeared without a trace. Once the fire was extinguished, the firefighters and investigators searched the rubble but found no remains of the 5 missing children. There was no sign of their bodies or any trace of them. The firefighters were even baffled as to why no remains had been found in the ashes. They believed it was highly unusual for a fire of this magnitude to destroy the house and not leave behind any traces of human remains, especially of children. The fire chief, F.J. Thomas, later reported that the intense heat should have caused human remains to leave bones, but none were found. This raised suspicion that the children had not died in the fire, but might have been kidnapped before the fire started. The Sauter family was devastated by the loss, but things would get even stranger. Not long after the fire, the family started to receive disturbing phone calls. A few weeks after the incident, Jenny received a call from a man who claimed to have information about the missing children. The man said he had seen the children alive, living in a nearby town. This was the first time the family suspected that their children may still be alive, and this phone call would be one of many strange developments that would follow. But the weird events didn't stop there. The family began to believe they were being watched. They reported seeing strange vehicles around their farm during the night and hearing footsteps on their roof. Some neighbors even claimed to have seen figures moving inside the house after the fire, suggesting that someone had been living there while the family thought it was abandoned. A year later, the family would receive an even more chilling development. Jenny Sauter was sent a photograph that appeared to show one of her missing children, Martha, sitting with 2 adults and another child in a car. The photograph had been postmarked from Miami, Florida. Jenny believed it was proof that her children were still alive. The Sauters pursued this lead, but when they showed the photo to local authorities, they were told that it was just a coincidence. But this letter sparked even more confusion and suspicion. After the fire, many people believed that the Sauter children were kidnapped and that the fire was set to cover up the abduction. Over the years, several theories have emerged about what might have happened to them. Some believe that the children were abducted by a local criminal group. The Sauters had many enemies due to George's outspoken opinions about his political beliefs, and some of his critics might have taken revenge on the family by taking the children. This theory suggests that the fire was set to distract from the abduction and to destroy evidence of their crime. Another theory involves George's Italian heritage. George was a vocal critic of Mussolini during World War II, which led to rumors that he was targeted by Italian immigrants or sympathizers who wanted revenge. Some believe that the mob took the children as a form of retaliation, though there is little concrete evidence to support this theory. There's also the possibility that the Sodder family may have been involved in something that led to the fire. Some believe that the family might have known more about the events leading up to the fire than they let on. And some even suggest that George or Jenny could have been complicit in the fire's origin. However, these theories are often dismissed due to the lack of evidence. Over the years, the Sodders refused to give up hope. They continued to investigate their children's disappearance, hiring private detectives and even putting up reward posters, offering a large sum of money for information. They went as far as employing a team of psychics to help locate the children. Despite these efforts, there were no concrete answers. The case was officially closed by authorities in 1952, but the family never stopped searching. One particularly eerie moment came when George Sodder decided to try to dynamite the rubble of the house. He believed that if the children's remains were buried under the debris, they could be uncovered. But when the dynamite was set off, nothing was found except for a few charred bones that were later proven to be animal remains. This fueled the family's belief that the children had been taken before the fire. To this day, the disappearance of the Sodder children remains one of the most mysterious and unsolved true crime cases in America. The family continued to seek answers until the end of their lives, even though no conclusive evidence has ever emerged. Theories abound, and some still believe that the Sodder children were kidnapped and that the fire was deliberately set to cover up the crime. Others suggest that they may have escaped and started new lives under assumed identities. The case remains an enduring mystery, especially due to the lack of physical evidence and the bizarre details of the family's experiences after the fire. To this day, the Sodder family is remembered for their unwavering search for justice, and their story is a chilling reminder of how deep some mysteries can go, leaving families with no closure. The Sodder children's disappearance is a heartbreaking and perplexing case that combines true crime, mystery, and the supernatural. It involves a fire, the abduction of children, eerie phone calls, strange sightings, and unanswered questions that continue to haunt the public imagination. The absence of answers and the eerie events surrounding the case make it one of the most disturbing unsolved crimes in American history. The case remains unsolved to this day, and many believe that the truth will never be uncovered. The questions continue. Did the children survive the fire, or were they victims of something far more sinister? The Sodder case is a haunting reminder that some mysteries are never solved and some families never get the closure they deserve.